Hi guys, my name is Jim Wister, and today I would like to take the time to eulogize someone who I believe to be one of the greatest leaders of social justice initiatives in American history, Fred Hampton. Frederick Allen Hampton, better known as Fred Hampton, leader of the Chicago branch of the Black Panther Party in the late 1960s, is truly one of the greatest and most noble leaders in American history. Fred bravely stood up to the injustices faced, not only by the black community, but the injustices cast upon the lower and middle class families of America by our rigid capitalistic society. Knowingly and willingly risking his life to stand against the evils of our so-called justice system and our capitalistic society that puts profits over people, Hampton was assassinated while sleeping next to his pregnant fiancée on December 4th, 1969, by the Chicago police. Those who stand on the side of justice, even when it is not popular or widely accepted at the time, are deservedly reflected upon historically with great admiration. Hampton wanted nothing more than to give the power to the people of America. Fred Hampton, with his tremendous empathy for the oppressed and less fortunate, was unfairly taken from us well before his time and before he could live out his dream of changing the world. One of the greatest attributes of Fred Hampton was his courageousness. The police brutality that we see persisting until this day, even with all the advancements in technology that we've made, is truly shocking. Now just imagine what police would do back in the day, when they knew they could get away with it, and when they knew they had no fear of being recorded. Fred Hampton, growing up poor in Chicago, witnessed police brutality firsthand many times throughout his childhood. Knowing that the police retaliated to any kind of resistance with brutal violence, Hampton never once backed down from speaking up against the Chicago PD, a well-known violator of human rights. Fred knew that one day he would be killed for fighting for what he believed in, but he never let that deter him. Hampton once famously said, "I believe I am going to die doing the things I was born to do. I believe I am going to die high off the people. I believe I am going to die a revolutionary in the international revolutionary proletarian struggle." Fred Hampton's courage in the face of constant threats to his own well-being is a true testament to the kind of noble leader that he was. Also, not one to care much for personal gain, Fred's liberality is something that will never be forgotten about him. Hampton rejected the rigid capitalism of American society and embraced the idea of democratic socialism aimed to help redistribute wealth and power throughout this country. His most well-known phrase, "power to the people," refers to this idea. Hampton was able to see how unfair our system was to those who were not born into wealth and power, and made it his life's mission to change the system in ways that would benefit the less fortunate. Fred Hampton's belief that people were way more valuable than profits shows the true virtue of his character. Fred's magnanimity and willingness to give back to those in need further defined who he was as a person. Perhaps the most underappreciated aspect of Fred's character was how much he did to give back to his community, even though he did not come from wealth. Charitable work was a large part of what Hampton was known for throughout the communities of Chicago. Along with his fellow Black Panthers, Hampton also helped create the very first free breakfast program for children that fed any child who needed a meal throughout the city. Thanks to the Panthers, many schools in America would go on to adopt many of these programs themselves in order to care for the underserved children throughout our nation. Much of what drove Fred Hampton to do all that he did was his love for humanity and his desire to see everyone receive what they needed in order to have the opportunity to be successful and happy. Fred Hampton was truly a man of the people who always put others' well-being above his own. Despite only spending a short 21 years on this earth, Fred impacted the lives of countless people and helped inspire a whole generation to fight for what was right. His ability to lead people of all different races and religions during a time of great turmoil in our country was truly astounding. Fred Hampton is someone who deserves to be remembered as the great man that he genuinely was. As Hampden once famously said, "You can kill a revolutionary, but you can never kill the revolution." And we see Fred Hampden's legacy living on today in many of the social justice initiatives and movements that we see going on throughout our country. Fred Hampden was truly one of the most courageous and giving people that have ever walked the face of this earth. Had he not been unfairly taken from us on that fateful night, December 4th of 1969, I genuinely believe that Fred Hampden would have changed this world for the better. It is unfortunate that we did not get to see him live out his life's mission of truly making an impact, although in the short time that he did spend on this earth, he made a tremendous impact on the people that he touched throughout his community.